This episode is sponsored by Alberta Blue Cross and was created to help inspire discussions around the importance of taking care of your health, whether it be mental, physical, social, or even financial. We are proud to provide our Socality House team members with Alberta Blue Cross employee health benefits to help them live their best lives. All right, you guys. Okay, I want to talk today about friendship. Okay, so there was this girl that recently posted on TikTok. I'm going to play you her TikTok right now. And I want to hear your thoughts on her take on friendship and what you think. So here we go.
You know how you can tell if somebody's a good friend? Stop calling them. Let a couple weeks go by and see if they reach out to you. And then before you know it, 6 months is going to pass, and then a year is going to go by, and you're going to think, man, this person hasn't even checked in. And then you realize that the entire friendship was based around the fact that you did all the planning and initiating. Stop pouring into people that aren't reciprocating. I love you.
All right, so
This music, though.
I know the music.
Got me in the zone, though.
Yeah.
If you say anything, it
With soft, like, Bon Iver playing in the background.
I know, right? The music will intensify the message for sure. If she would have played like, you know, Bruno Mars, like, or whatever.
Bop in the
What's his
background.
name? 'Cause I'm happy. Then would be like, yeah, screw friends. We're so happy. Clap along if you feel. Everyone's just dancing down the street. But that got me thinking because I saw that and I thought, well, that's, first of all, it's a hot take. It's her hot take. And I thought there was some validity, and I don't know if it's because of my personality. I'm the kind of texter that when I text somebody and they don't text back in like 2 seconds, they get the 3 question marks.
I know.
It's like, hello, like I just poured on my heart. Like, where
you know
are
what I'm
you?
grateful, though, is you're not the person that does the question mark emoji or like the question mark like bubble thing
Oh,
on the...
I feel like that's way better than the 3 question marks.
It probably
what's
is.
the bubble thing?
when you double tap like
But you know, you can heart, like in iMessage, like heart a text.
Okay,
And
that
then
is annoying.
Some
Really?
people, in my mind,
note to self: don't do that to Scott and Jonathan.
some people will literally like send a question and then they'll be like, I'm gonna bump this by not sending another message. And like on one hand, it's like I think I would just appreciate if people are like, hey, I know you're busy, like just following up on that last message.
I agree.
And then I would be like, cool. But when they say nothing and just add the little question mark on the question they already asked,
that is
it feels
way more annoying.
It feels passive aggressive, like just
it's
a little
too
bit.
intense. It's like that kind of person I don't need in my life.
You guys have been hurt too many times.
You know what?
Levi's like sitting over here like, I do this.
Okay,
100%.
okay, I'm down with the 3 question marks. Like, why aren't you responding to me? But the double tapping on the message with the 2 exclamation marks,
Or the question mark.
you got to go.
Sorry, guys. I'll take off.
He's like, that's my cue.
Yeah.
I feel like this lady's that kind of friend.
The question
She's a
mark.
double tapper.
She's a double
Dang, coming out the gates.
No, but I mean, she got me thinking about this because I actually thought there is a validity to what she's saying. Now,
Right.
she's seeing it from her point of view.
Right.
But I think it's interesting because, you know, community and friendship is so important and we all see it in a different way. And I thought that was true because, first of all, I know that we can't be everybody's friend and we can't have that expectation. But there's a couple people in my life that they text me every day and I text them. Like, we're both initiators in the friendship. And then there's other people that I feel like I'm always texting them and I would never hear from them unless I texted them. So from that point of view, I'm like, I thought it was a good test to find out who are the people in your life that are most interested in you. You know, because maybe her expectation is, maybe her expectation is unhealthy, but I thought, from her point of view, like, I get it. Like, how do you respond to people? Like, what is it like for you?
I don't know. I feel like it's tough. I feel like it really is. I feel like we almost need to start by broadening the conversation a little bit. All through, I'm extroverted. You're extroverted.
I'm extroverted.
You're extroverted. Yeah. So we're going to bring one side of the conversation.
Yeah.
The other part of it is too, where, I don't know, some of the best friends I have like my best friend since I was 6 years old lives in Vancouver, which is 10 hours away. And we talk every 5 weeks, maybe. So
okay, but who initiates it?
I feel like now it's a mix of both, but there was a while where I remember thinking to myself, I'm a bad friend of this guy, because he would message me every month, and he was the one always initiating. And then I had another friend who was a very good friend to me, and I was so I'm probably the one that she's talking about on the other end, or at least I was, because I don't know, you just get caught up in your own stuff, and you just think, hey, those friends are always going to be there and whatever, and then you can kind of fall off and forget. Now I think I do think we always need to check in with our friends, but there is different types of friendships,
right?
Because
what do you mean by that? What do you mean?
I feel like, I don't know, if you know, for me, I'm 33 years old. I know that if I have a friend I'm a skateboarder. In skateboarding, there's a wide range of ages that have people that hang out, and so I know that if I have an 18-year-old that I'm skateboarding with, that kid probably looks at me like an adult or whatever. Like I'm not maybe on the same. So because of that, I need to be probably a bit more giving and expect less in return when it comes to a friendship. When it comes to someone who's, I'm married, let's say a married friend, we have the same understanding. It's like, hey, my wife comes first. We have other priorities. Doesn't mean that you're not important to me, but if we only talk every 5, 6, 7 weeks, that's totally fine. And then so then setting those expectations, and then I feel like also then there's a mentorship friend. So there's a few different kinds of friendships we can have, and then those are the ones that I'm pulling on. So that's the one where I should always be the one initiating, because this person's 40 years old, got 2 kids or 3 kids, and is busy with their business and doing this, that, whatever. And I'm asking for their advice and for their help and this type of stuff. And so I think if we define the friendship, and then knowing I don't know what we can get out of it, but also for me personally, I have been in my low points at this, but I've had to really redefine in myself what is the best outcome. Because when you have a friend who's texting you every day and you're trying to get stuff done, love them to death, but it's really hard too. That's the other part of it.
The demanding friend that's always texting you. And I mean, I'm not like that kind of person where I demand a response. But I love how
sometimes
you say it depends what it is.
Do not delay.
Do not delay. That's one of, because people delay. I'm just like, do not delay.
You've actually gotten better. Maybe just with me. I don't know about everybody else.
Well,
but
I know with John, I'll text him and he's texting me, and then I'll text him, he's texting me, and then I'll say something and there's silence. I'm like, he's done. Like, he's just ignoring me now, and now there's not going to be any movement till we see each other in person. I'm going to have to bring it up in person because he's done. Because he just has retreated. Right. It's over. It's done. But I've learned that. I'm like, hey, John's done it. It's over. But because he's got to, we got to work together.
That's good though.
I can't push him over the edge.
About like getting to know your friends well enough though to like even tweak your own personality. Because you're right. Like I know how like prodding you can be. Yeah. But I've noticed you actually have adapted your style of communication with me.
Let's face it, it's called giving up.
You're like, I've quit.
That's funny.
It is true though that I've adapted, because I know I'll see you the next day. So I'm like, John's done. He's got a lot on his plate.
You're like, I'll see you tomorrow.
Like he doesn't. What he's basically telling me is he doesn't think it's that big of a deal right now. So just let it go. Right. So I've learned that. So then I'm okay. But that's not even friendship way we're texting. That's more work related. But what I think what she's saying is interesting is there are people in my life that I feel like I'm always the initiator. So what I think it got me thinking is, maybe that person's not really my friend. Like maybe they don't care about me because I never hear from them on their own initiative. Like I'm the one always initiating in certain relationships. I'm always the one initiating the conversation, initiating the coffee, initiating the FaceTime or the catch up,
Do you think that's personality though?
Well,
do you think, because that is also you are a very social person.
It's personality.
And there are some people where they're just like doing their thing. And it's not that they don't care, but they're like, they don't need the level of connection or social engagement. Maybe
maybe they just don't feel as connected to me as I feel connected to them, and that's okay. Maybe, and that's what I'm saying is like, maybe there are people in my life that they text me every day. I text them. Like there's those kind of like, I think you were talking about level of friendships. I think in life, we really only have 4 or 5 really, really tight knit friends. Like when you think about something that exciting happens to you, you always default to tell the first, those people. Like that's an indicator of who probably is your best friend, is when something really awesome happens, you text those same people, right? I don't think about, you get it, and then there's the next level. It's like a ripple, like, you know, in water.
It's like spheres
the
almost.
first ripple
Yeah.
is like the first people you're like, I'm so awesome. I got to share it with these people. Then there's the next group, and then there's the next group, and then there's the next group. And I'm thinking maybe I'm texting people and I think they're in the second ripple, but in their mind, I'm in the like 12th ripple.
Which could be the case.
And
It's like Vero, where they've made those circles on Vero where it's like you can choose to be like, I remember you were interviewing the founder, and he's like, yep, like you could be my close, like I could have you in close friends.
And they've got me as their acquaintance.
And you could be my acquaintance. Yeah.
I'm someone's acquaintance when I think I'm your close friend. Yeah. And I think that's what I think that maybe she hasn't realized is you're just, in their mind, you're not that good of a friend. You know,
or they're just in an outer sphere,
or they're not as connected to you as you feel connected to them, or maybe they don't want the same level of friendship that you want from them. And then I take that as a reading sign, like that's okay. I'll just invest in the people that I feel are reciprocal to me. And so I think, you know, maybe it's just expectation of others, not even so much extrovert introvert.
Right, and I think even to empathize with where she's at, like. I have been there before, especially before I was married and I had, you know, so I was living alone, coming home and if I wasn't careful, I could spend 2, 3, 4 days alone.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can empathize with what she's saying and I can empathize with you. Reach out to someone 5, 6 times over. And at first you just worry, oh, did I do something to to tick them off or something or push them away? And then it goes further and then you just feel kind of rejected and whatever. And you can get into this hole that you've dug or at least you've walked into. And so I can empathize with that. The other side of it is when it comes to, I don't know, as we move forward in life, I think it is okay to have those rings. Like, I don't think we need to apologize. I think where we can help in those, meaning the rings are 4 or 5 friends and our next ones. I think where we can help as we mature as people that are like relational is if we know we meet a person at the coffee shop, at Socality House or at church or at down the street or whatever, and we can see that they're new to the city or they just, you know, met like just I don't know, they just changed everything about their life and they come in and they're like they don't have any friends. We can see that in our maturity. Well, what I think almost our social responsibility is if we know that we don't have room in our lives is to connect them with others.
With somebody that does, yeah.
Because if we don't, then, you know, we're strong enough. Like, and there's lots of people listening too that are. I'm not claiming that we're, you know, whatever. But like if we're strong enough to be like, oh, you know what, I don't have space. Just looking schedule wise and whatever, I don't have time. Doesn't mean I don't care about you. So I'm going to connect you with person X, and hopefully it's someone with similar hobbies. You know, if they're into photography or you know what, skateboarding or video games or music or whatever, you know, or whatever. So I think that those connection points is part of our social responsibility. Right. And when she's talking about, well, people don't call, like, I wonder if this specific person went through something and people didn't reach out. You know, if she got sick or something happens to your kid or you lose a job or the many, many things that can happen in life. I think it's my responsibility no matter where someone's at in those spheres. That's where I love Facebook, because if someone says, hey, would you pray for me? Or hey, this just happened, guys, I need some help. Like, we can't make rent this month or whatever. I'm very thankful for, I mean, that age is me talking about Facebook where it's like, okay, other people's Instagram or Snap or whatever, but having those things. So now all of a sudden I believe not just my social responsibility, but my social joy is to be able to, like, hey, I might not be in your life all the time, but I'm going to do what I can right now. I'm going to at least reach out and say, hey, I'm really sorry what happened about you and your dad. Like,
yeah, but she's talking about, you know, people being an initiator, and I get that, but then she's also projecting what she thinks being a friend is upon somebody else. It comes down to like the love languages. You know that book about the love languages? Like, some people give. So she obviously, maybe she gives love or receives love through doing things for other people. And then someone else is about quality time or like gifts. And so maybe she's expecting phone calls or someone arranging a party or like, hey, I'm like, let's get together and initiating. And she's equating that to friendship. But maybe the other person on the other side, that's just not how they respond. And they're more like, because you were saying that
my childhood best friend.
Yeah.
And I would still like consider us good friends. We probably talk once a year. Like, Like
once a year? Like, and what do you mean talk? Like you get on the phone?
no, like we don't message each
Where
other.
does this person live?
Toronto.
I don't even know who they are. This is how good of friends you are. You've never.
No, so
Scott, maybe he's got you as an acquaintance over
yeah.
here.
What? Am I an acquaintance?
no. So like,
John's
but
like,
this
don't think you're a close friend of me.
but it's a state like, so I think it's a stage of life thing. So when I'm saying like
Right.
this is like childhood best friend,
Right.
But like we hit a point where he moved to Toronto,
Right.
Went to university there, is now married, like is a lawyer, is now married to a lawyer. Like our interests are like, there's
They're
still
doing
a
lot of
few,
stuff. Yeah,
but we're
yeah.
doing completely different things.
Right.
Our lives look completely different. But I would still like, he will probably be in my wedding. Like I was in his, you know what I mean? Like, like we are still like, it's that far back, like
Right.
deep, but we've got lots of memories like growing up. But literally I will probably see him and his wife like at Christmas, and we'll hang out. We'll have some
Wow.
quality time.
And who initiates that though?
If they are coming into town,
Yeah.
they'll be like, hey, we're around. And I'll be
Right.
like, let's link up. Sometimes if I was in Toronto long enough, like now lately, it's always like so in and out. So I'm like not
Wait,
even
so
talking
you're
to
saying
Okay.
you go to
anybody.
Toronto and you didn't even call your friend?
Yeah, we've gone to Toronto lots, and you've never called this person.
I'm just
We
getting
were,
called out.
we were in Toronto several times, and you've never called this person. He never even made mention of this friend. I'm learning about this friend for the first time. I've never heard of this friend.
This is
it's
like-
Casper, the friendly ghost. That's who your friend is. Because I've never heard of this person. Every time I go somewhere, I know someone. I'm like, I gotta call them. I don't know what's this guy's name. David, wherever you're listening, apparently you're really good friends with John. But my question to you, okay, so that's that relationship.
Right.
What about, have you ever felt like, man, this person's not texting me? Have you ever felt that at all?
No, I think it's my personality. I think like I have lots of people in my life that like I would literally consider them good friends,
Right.
but like for just whatever reason in life, we're not, usually it's people that are not in the same city.
Right.
So what happens is we're not in the same city, and I'm very like, maybe I am a quality time person. I'm not a big texter. Like somebody texting me, really it's like, whatever. Like that, like
I know.
no, but like, but texting doesn't, like texting for me doesn't equate like
Right.
friendship.
Interesting.
So it would be like, I would need to have a call. Like I would need to like talk to someone for
Right. You
like,
are like that.
I would like, so it would be like FaceTime me. And if like I would say there's people I barely like, I'm friends with, but like a few messages throughout the year are like, I still don't have a clue what's going on in your life outside of
Right.
like social media or whatever. So for me, I would need that, like, let's actually either we're in the same
Quality
space
time. Yeah.
or we hop on like FaceTime for an hour or an hour and a half. And that's enough. Like I could maybe have friends that like aren't in the same city. And if like I get that within like 6 months or a year,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, we like topped up. I kind of know where you're at.
What about you, Scott? Have you ever had it like where you felt like, I guess you just said, you're like, oh, I wonder if, but have you ever actually like felt, because she sounds like she's like hurt. right?
Yeah, she's hurt. I'm not hurt, but her video provoked some thinking in me because I am an initiator,
Right.
where I'm always texting people, like either individual text or group text, and I'm the one that's always sending the TikToks and the laughter memes to get people like communicating again.
Right.
You know, so I am an initiator and like, hey, let's go for coffee. But now here's the thing. I'm not like that with everybody. I'm like that with people that think I'm in friendship with.
Right.
So, you know, maybe, which was my point earlier, is maybe these people that she's not hearing from just don't view her as a friend.
Right.
So if I'm not hearing from people, I'm just assuming they're not as interested. So maybe I wouldn't try so hard to activate.
Right.
You know, but I have definitely been on the other side where I feel a little bit left out because I am an extroverted person and I like to, and I think sometimes people think that you don't need friendship because you have a lot of friends. But at the end of the day, like I said, I only have 3 or 4 really good
close friends is a whole different story.
friends.
Yeah.
But I actually think at the same time, that's all we can really handle. And so I don't necessarily expect everyone to think I need best friends or whatever too, because the thing is, it is a lot to ask for people to be really, really close.
Right.
You know?
I have had it where some people where I know that I'm like, oh, I love this, like I love my friend, I love this homie, like, but then he's not, like it doesn't reciprocate. Because I remember to actually telling my wife probably more than once, like I think maybe that we just have different priorities as far as, and then some of it's you just are missing, like they're busy for 3 weeks and then you're free and then it swaps, and so I can get where she's at. I listened to this podcast like maybe 2 months ago, and they were talking about letting certain friends be certain friends. So he was talking, this guy that was speaking with his wife on the podcast, he said that he had multiple kids and whatever, and he just was like, he's like, I have golf friends that are golf friends, and they try to be, let's go for wine friends. And he's just like, I have learned that it is okay to say like, oh, you know what? I think I'll just see you next tea time. Let's get next week,
Right. He wants to keep him in the golf zone.
Yeah. and I don't think it's because
why? He doesn't want to drink wine with his golf friends. I don't get it.
Because like you and probably all of us, we know hundreds of people.
Right.
And I think it's actually a caring act, but it can come across to someone who maybe only has a few friends as an uncaring act, because I think he says,
interesting,
I don't have capacity, and I know you will feel left out or let down if you try to expand in these other areas. But I got my kids, they're my main priority, my family, this, work, all those things. And then my 4 friends that I'm trying to make sure they're okay. And in actually the way that he's caring for this person, saying, I can give you my full attention at the tea time, and then he's got, soccer, like other soccer parents and different things like that. And he said, he's like, it's okay to let, your golf friends, or me in my case, my skateboard friends be skateboard friends, or to let my church friends be church friends, or my coffee shop friends just be that. Because before I always used to feel like, I enjoyed that time at the coffee shop. I should try to involve them in what I'm doing because I enjoyed that time. And then they were always busy. And then I realized. Well,
and you point out a good fact, because there's some friends that I'm with and there's different energy levels, and then I've mixed those friends with other friends and it's not a good scene.
I've done that
because
too.
I have certain friends where we are just so ruthless to each other.
Right.
And it's like the brink of like so rude. Like but that's how
it's very Australian.
It's very Australian.
Yeah,
like we just cut into each other and rip each other down to shreds. And it's just like the best time ever. And then I've done that with other people and they just feel completely shattered and heartbroken, and I ended up in like a 2-hour like therapy session with them where I'm like, I didn't mean it. But then I get with my other friends, it's just like jab, rip, and we're just loving life. But those two do not mix.
Right.
And I'm like, this is not a good vibe. So sometimes you need to keep people in their categories.
Well, and you're capable of both, right?
You're capable of both.
So then you're right. There is a measure of being like, okay, where am I? Where can I be like this kind of with these people? And then
totally. And I think that's another thing about friendship, is identifying who are your friends and then how do you connect and relate to those people. Because for you, you're saying you like to have coffee or have a deep and meaningful, as whereas like you're not so much a texter. So that's how I'm going to connect with you. But that might not be.
Yeah, like I could have a 30-minute conversation with you and catch up.
Yeah.
Like at the beginning of a week or whatever, and be like, okay, we're good. And I wouldn't need to like text you, send you anything, and I wouldn't think anything of it. Like I wouldn't think we weren't good. I wouldn't think like a lack of communication from you was anything wrong. It would just be like, no, we're good. Like in my head, but it is good but that's, I think, the communication piece. It's really important, because if you do have friends or people in your life that need something else, then I think it's like, it's literally like even this conversation, I'm like, oh, I'm probably like realizing things about how you like connect that then, shapes how I would respond, to be like, oh, like that quick text or this would mean more to you than it does to me.
Yeah.
Right. Like a quick reply to you is like, oh, okay, affirmed.
Right.
For me, it's like, because I don't care about text messages.
Right.
I'm just like, it's a text. Like, who cares? Like, so yeah, I think that communication piece, when it's people that you care about,
right.
Have you ever broken up with a friend?
I've broken up with clients before. I'm a hairstylist. I've broken up with clients before.
But do you mean, have you ever had a friendship that was so good and then gone bad?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
Did you feel the need to repair it? Or was it a mutual break? Or was it like one still wanted friendship and the other didn't? Or it just was never the same again?
Yeah, I feel like in the first one that comes to mind, I wouldn't say it was like a mutual break, but it was just more of a, let's set up some boundaries. And I think part of it even maybe started with what I was talking about before, where it's like, oh, they weren't available when I needed them. And then
you felt that.
I felt that. But then realizing that I was like, actually, that wasn't fair to put on them. But then some other stuff happened, and I didn't say anything. I just realized that I was like, oh, okay, like I need to stop apologizing for their behavior, or justifying or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then just realizing I had to forgive them in my own heart, because otherwise, like, I'm carrying around that like kind of burden and whatever. But there's like a difference between like holding a grudge in order to like keep someone away, versus forgiving them but setting up a boundary. You know, I think they can look really similar from the outside, but there's a difference in us, because it could just be when they reach out, you're like, hey, I was like, oh man, I hope you're doing good. But there's a way that you respond that is like, like, I'm trying to shut this down. And part of it is protecting your heart, right? And those types of things. I'm like a softie in that way. Like, I have a couple mentors in my life that are tough love people. And I know when I'm going through something, I do not call them, because they like, they just go hard at me, and I end up crying more. Right. And so then those aren't people I'm talking about right now, but it, I think that's kind of how I handled that. I think I just kind of was just like, all right, I'll just let you live your life and I'll live mine. But I don't think there's ever been a time where someone has like berated me and hounded me. And I mean, I've blocked ex-girlfriends on Instagram, but like that wasn't necessarily because of them. It was because like,
show us your phone. Let's see who's been blocked.
No. And then that was more so to like protect myself. Cause like, you know, you break up, you guys break up and you keep checking their Instagram or something like that. So, but yeah, I couldn't say that I blocked other people. Maybe just ignored their comments or their stuff like that. But
have you guys ever, like, we were kind of talking about those circles, you know, and it got me thinking, like, this is something that's gone through my head, but I've never actually sat down and like been intentional about it. But it's even this conversation's kind of in a reminder, or like challenge a little personally to be a little more intentional. Cause like, you know, we're talking about all these people and you're kind of like ribbing me a little bit, like, oh, Bets, you know, and part of me is just like, okay, but why? Like, these are people in my life that I would consider a higher rung in the circles, you know, whatever that is, than a lot of the people I probably give my time to. Right.
But are the people you give your time to friends? Like, this is what I'm interested in, is can you spend time with people on a regular basis and not be their friend, but still be in their world?
100%. Look at coworkers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some people, they build their entire community off that. But look at you guys. You guys aren't. You're just coworkers, not friends, right?
I would say we're friends, but John and I don't hang out socially.
Yeah.
Probably
because we hang out so much.
Yeah.
That we're just like, we need our own lives.
Right. I feel like if we hung out a lot socially, we would never not be together.
Right. One time, like, and I think that's been an unspoken thing between us, because we both are together so much because we work together, we travel together for events, we, you know, are constantly building our business together. But I think we've just unconsciously, is that the word?
Unconsciously,
let each other live their separate lives, because we do need that for ourselves. And so when I could see John go off and do his photo sessions, I'm never like, why didn't he invite me along? Because I'm like, John needs that for his own world. Like, I mean, you know, and so I do think we're friends. But,
for sure.
But we spend so much time together. I don't think we need to spend any more time together.
But I also think that like looking what the definition of loving someone well is different for everyone.
But but some people might not get that, because John and I have a very interesting working relationship. Like I was saying this to somebody, like, we've worked together for so long, but we've never fought.
Yeah, you told me that. Yeah.
One time John walked away briskly from me.
I did.
In New York. That's the closest we got to a fight.
You remember it.
Yes.
Oh, it was a brisk walk.
It was a brisk walk.
That's it. I've done it now. But that's as close to anger as John's ever got, was the brisk walk.
I cooled off, and then we talked about it.
We talked about it, but literally, but never fought. Like, never actually like raised a voice, had a disagreement. We've had not seen eye to eye, but we work it out. It is a very unique friendship and working relationship, and I'm thankful for it. But there are people that might feel the need to always, or would be like, I saw John doing a photo session, why didn't he invite me? Might feel like, why did he not?
Or like, aren't we friends?
Aren't we friends? I thought we were friends.
Like,
what do you mean you had a party at your house and you didn't invite me?
Right.
Yeah.
I expect John to do things without me, because he needs that for his
I think
life.
when you know people well enough, though, like, we probably are so in tune
Yeah.
that you don't even like the fact that you're literally telling me like, oh, I just do this because I just know that like that's where you're at.
Right.
Like I think it's kind of like that. Like Scott will do stuff and I'm just like, I already know that like you're so around that person that it's just like unspoken.
Unspoken.
It's
Which
kind of
I
like,
think
you
is
know,
a sign of a good friendship.
you almost know what
100%.
they need,
Healthy,
you know?
yeah.
So you're just like, oh yeah, you're doing this. I know that's exactly what you need. And I know that you didn't invite me or you didn't involve me because you also are respecting the fact that I'm really overwhelmed and you know, like it's all those things where you're just like, and if there was ever a scenario where one of us was like, oh, I wish you invited me, we would probably like, or involve me, we would just say it. Hey,
Right.
But
you know?
you've done things and he's like, I know you probably can't come because it's a Friday night and you're going to be with your family, but we're having to get together just so you know you're welcome.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thanks so much for the invite. I can't come, and he knows I can't come. But sometimes it's just the knowing,
just the
of
being like, we thought of you.
we thought of
Yeah.
you,
Right.
and that
No,
I know
those
you
are
probably
nice to
can't
get.
make
and
it.
I'm at home watching
Yeah.
Shark Tank,
Yeah.
and, you know, putting the kids to bed, and I'm watching John on stories having this thing. But sometimes it's just the awareness of knowing that I was invited. He knew I couldn't come.
Right. And that's helpful, yeah.
It's helpful instead of like he always feels like he needs to sneak behind my back and do things.
But I mean, I have that.
You never call me.
Okay. He's like, no. What I was gonna say is, I feel like part of that comes from one, confidence in yourself.
Yeah.
But then and self-awareness, and then relational awareness. Because
Yeah.
if you know that you and that person are on good standings, and you
We're
know
not
that
reading into things.
you're not
Yeah.
reading into things, and that same thing goes with, you know, for me and my wife, and you
Yeah.
and your wife, you know,
Yeah.
whatever. Like, and then the confidence to know that it's like, I'm actually okay.
But I think that's what true friendship really is, is where you do feel, you know, you're good friends with someone when there's an ease of comfort around that person, where you can be yourself, all your quirks are on the table, and you feel good about it. And that's the expectancy from both parties. I feel like those people will end up becoming your best friends. But when it's like, if I was always expecting, like, Levi, you've got to be this for me.
It's a lot of work,
Then
right?
you'd be like, Scott's nothing but work.
Right.
Then you would feel like that's not a friend. A friend is where I feel most comfortable.
Totally.
It's like a secondary home.
Right.
Like you go home and you're just so comfortable.
Right.
You know? But then when you're really with a friend, you feel at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I would, like you said, true friendship. I would phrase it healthy friendship.
Yeah, I like that.
Because I think healthy, like I said, I do have some friends that are close that I am jealous when they don't invite me. And then I realize that has nothing to do with them. That's me. That's because I have something not worked out in my own heart that is being like, okay, well, I'm not confident in that area. I guess I'm a little insecure. I guess I'm a little, you know, have FOMO or whatever it might be. Or maybe they're hanging out with people that I actually really want to be around, and realizing that, oh, maybe I don't believe in myself enough because I think that they want to hang out with them more, or whatever my case
all
might
the
be.
different
So then
self-talk.
realizing that the insecurity is actually in me. It has nothing to do with my friend. But yeah, that's where I would say it would be healthy friendships. But that stuff's tough.
I like that. I like that, healthy friendships. It is it's a hard balance because you're trying to like be friends with people and you want to be like, make people feel really comfortable and good. But like I said, we're not meant to be close with every single person. Like no individual can handle 20 incredible friends. You know what I mean? Can you imagine the intensity of that? Like the texting, the getting together, the keeping up with the friendships, like especially like you talked, I can't remember who talked about seasons of life.
Yeah.
You know, like when you're you've got friends for a season when you're all single, then people get married, and you know, when we've all seen it, when people start getting married off, and then it's like, there goes another one, you know, because you know that as much as you want to stay connected, when you get married, you're building things. You're building a life with someone. Then you have kids, and when you have kids, you definitely are
really changes. Yeah.
Well, because you're more, and I mean, single people don't want to go hang out with like a whole bunch of kids while you're changing diapers and stuff. Unless you do.
I do.
Did you?
I literally did, and I wish.
Where were you all these years, John? I could have used you.
You see me with your kids every time.
John.
Do you change his kids' diapers?
Nah, well, no, I would never expect that. But I will say, John.
I've never been asked for that.
No,
from
and we
friends.
would never ask that. John and Matt, though, John's brother, are incredible with our children, and they love them. Like to a point where John has come over and played with them in the backyard for hours.
Right.
And
well, you went and took a nap.
Basically.
You're watching Shark Tank by yourself in the basement.
on his phone.
I gotta see if these deals are made. But one thing about John is he is really good with kids. But I don't know what was my point.
We just went on a tangent because we were just talking about stages of life.
Stages of life. And so naturally I think some friendships are friends forever, and there are friends for seasons.
Right.
And it's okay to go, we were really close and connected at one point in time, and we both met each other's needs, but then things changed and you moved and this person got married and things shifted. And I think we need to have grace with each other to understand that some friends are friends forever.
Right.
And some friends are friends forever. But like every grad year. Some friends are friends forever, and some friends are friends for seasons. And I think that's okay. And maybe we need to release the pressure off some people and understand the relationship between us and how we relate. And it's okay if some things don't always hit the pocket.
Right.
Because, I've been in friendships years ago where it's like constantly every week you're in conflict resolution.
Right.
And that's not comfortable.
It's drama. Yeah, it's hard.
It's just like, is this going to be drama? Is this going to be this much work?
Right.
Because some things are just like, there's friendship and then there's just work.
Totally.
And do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
We're just like, we're back at it again, having another deep and meaningful, and you're pointing out every single fault, and I'm adjusting to you, and I'm tiptoeing. Like, this is not comfortable.
Right.
Yeah. I'm for like a challenge every now and then, but like every week.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
No, like 100%.
You're going to Dr. Phil me every week?
Well, that's that difference. But that's almost that difference between what you were saying, or at least this is my experience, is the people that I would put in that like parallel close sphere, in my mind, shouldn't be people that are constantly creating conflict in your life.
No, 100%.
So for me, those people don't get into that circle.
Right.
If that's where they're at.
Right.
And if they stay in my life, there's someone I care enough about to see work through their stuff.
But what if they're always knocking on your door and want to be your friend? How do you tell them, like, you're too much drama for
Honestly,
me?
that's where I would connect people with other people, and it's
so
not
you
like
just pawn them off
no,
on somebody else.
I know it's gonna sound like that. That's not what I meant.
No, but
I mean, like, you legitimately like are introducing them to other people. I don't know.
I think you could do that.
It takes a
You're
village.
crazy. You would be great with that person.
But I think no.
Meet Tom.
Right.
But you're I don't think you're wrong in the sense that we all have capacity, right? So I think it's okay. I mean, like, that is literally all I do at events.
Right.
Is
pawn people
Connect
off.
people.
The like negative way to say it would be just like nonstop pawn people off, but I'm actually being intentional of going,
right.
I'm going to meet like 25 people
That's
like
true.
today.
Yeah.
I don't have capacity to be friends with, like, close friends in all likelihood with any of them.
Right.
I don't even live in their city.
Right.
Like,
you don't even call your best friend David.
No. So like they
We're
don't.
so sorry, David.
You're never hearing from John, guys.
But my hope is that they might meet somebody, right, in that city that they could at least connect with in some
intentional
level.
connection,
right?
Yeah.
And I don't. And if all it was a great conversation, that's all they got. That's okay.
Yeah.
But I think it like, and in some cases, if you're truly maxed out, I've even had conversations with people where it is very like, hey, like, where I've just flat out said, honestly, I'm maxed right now. And
and that takes a lot for John, because John will listen to people forever.
Well, but what I mean is I'm maxed right now relationally. So this is the capacity I have.
Right.
Meaning, if I run into you in this sphere, if we're in these contexts, I've got time. That's kind of the boundary.
Right.
But I just don't have room to do
Honestly,
more.
I think that's a caring thing to do, but a lot of people wouldn't see it.
They wouldn't see it that way.
Because for you to just be totally upfront rather than let them down over and over again, but say, hey, I'm sorry I can't this week. Sorry I can't this week. Sorry I can't this week.
And it depends on the context. I think some cases you can almost just show it without the like heavy kind of, hey, I'm just going to lay it out and be honest.
Right.
I think in a lot of cases for a lot of people, you can just kind of, you're more just demonstrating your capacity by what you're giving.
Of course, yeah.
Right. And I think most of the time you can do that. You just give people what you can give, and then they very quickly see where that capacity fits.
And I think it comes with age. The older you get more seasoned into who you are as an individual. You get more crafted into your, like, this is my life, this is my family, this is my routine.
I think it's a maturity thing.
This is maturity. This is what I have capacity for. When you're younger, 20, you're like looking for new 100%. Friends.
Yeah,
you're also looking
party.
And you're growing your network. You're growing your network.
You're looking for a potential life partner. You're looking to, you're meeting new people. You're discovering. You're networking. You're getting your name out there. All that stuff. It's like 20s are all about discovery, right? Like it's like who, what, where, when, how. And then 30s, you're settling into who you are, your career, the people around you. 40s, you're kind of like, this is my life. This is hopefully it's not it. In the sense of there must be more. But at the same time, it does get.
But you're comfortable at that point.
You're like, this is what my life looks like. You know what I mean? Like I'm getting established. Like I'm setting myself up for what I'm going to do for the next 20 years of my life with the people I know. And I feel like the older you get, you settle into that. And maybe 40, 50-year-olds require less good friends because they have like their family they're investing into, their children they're raising. And then even I've seen it with my family. Like it is very much like about the aunts and the uncles and the cousins, and you go over for family dinners, and like there's that whole sense of family. And then, you feel need for less friends, even though you value friendship. You might feel the need for less. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think there's always going to be people that you want to make sure you're taking care of, even if it's just a check-in or throw a text or whatever. And like, there's people in my life that, I'm 33 and I found my wife a couple of years ago, or if she found me or whatever. But there's like some of my friends that are in their 30s and their 40s that are single that desire that, and it's totally chill if they don't desire that, whatever. But these ones do. And I know that those ones maybe take a little bit more of like, hey, how you doing this week? And that's all it is. Like, there's no like big whatever, but purely because I have my wife at the end of the day, either like telling me like, Levi, you're better than this, or like wash the dishes for, come on, or is like, hey, are you good? And so I think it's like those check-ins are good. But okay, I got one question though. Okay. Has this ever happened to you? I assume so, but were you either like, it's late at night, like let's say it's 10:30 is late at night for me, but let's say it's 10:30, 11, maybe it's 2 a.m. for some people that are listening, and someone texts you and said like, yo, do you want to hang, or do you want a game, or hey,
game?
Well, I don't play video games, but I'm trying to relate to that people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or like, or do you want to go to the bar or whatever? I'm by your house, and you ignore it because you're tired or you're planning to go to bed. But then you're just ripping it up on social media. You either post that video you've been doing, or you like are commenting like a maniac or whatever. And then you realize in that moment you ignored that person and you didn't even text them back because I'm like, oh, they probably think I'm asleep. And then I'm like, do you do that?
Well, yeah. Well, because the problem is everyone knows that you always have your phone on you, right? True. Like you're texting, you're on social, you're posting, you're responding, and then you text them and they're like, funny. They're commenting on Instagram.
Right. They're not listening. Yeah.
Are they not reading their text messages? Like, they know that you're blatantly ignoring them.
Right.
So, of course, it happens all the time, But if someone called me up and said, do you want to hang at 11 at night? I would just message them back and be like, are you crazy? Like, it's bedtime.
Again, I just ignore it. Yeah, I'll steal that tomorrow morning.
Yeah, just ignore it. But yeah, there are the people like, I know you have your phone.
Right.
Like, I know you're seeing this message.
My bedtime do not disturb goes on at like at like 10:45 or whatever. So there's been times where literally I actually don't see stuff because you're literally like,
okay, but this brings me to another point. Yeah, people that turn on the red message, so when you text them and it says red, these people are crazy. Crazy. Why would you ever turn that feature on?
No, it's nuts.
Like, why would you want someone to know that you read their message? Like, are those people on another planet? Like, who are these people? Because
let me tell you who those people are. But my wife has it on.
She does not.
No, she 100% does. And I'm like, and she always responds to me promptly, but probably because I'm her husband. Unless I send her like 9 messages at work, but it's usually like, hey, make sure you pick up this or this, whatever. I asked her just a week ago, why do you still have that on? Or why do you have that on? Yeah. And she's like, oh, that's funny. It's still on, huh? And I'm like, yeah. Why do you have it on? And she's like, oh, I used to put it on so that when guys would message me and and I wasn't interested in them, they would see I read the message and then they would leave me alone.
Oh,
This is the type of
so she
people.
could leave them
They
on red.
want you. Okay. So they want you to know that they read their message and they're blatantly
I have
ignoring
been
you.
with her for 4.5 years and she's still got it on. So
Wow.
I don't know.
But so you're saying that the person that leaves the red message
It's
on,
so they can leave you on red.
they can leave you on red
Yeah.
and let you
100%.
know that I am blatantly
That they have
ignoring you.
100%.
that they
I
have seen
hate
it.
your guts. I saw your message and I chose to ignore you. Okay, that makes sense. But I would, because then you could never say, "Oh, sorry, I missed your message," or "Sorry,
No, you can't.
You
No.
can't. It's
Yeah.
like, no, I know you read it.
The thing is-
it says red.
The thing is, that's all you can do on Instagram. Like,
And, yeah,
like
Facebook's the
Instagram,
same, too.
Instagram, Facebook, it's like built in.
yeah, you have no
But
option.
someone showed me a way that you can read the message without reading it.
How?
So, okay, get this. You grab it and you slide it halfway to the side, and you
Yeah.
can read the message and you let it sling
Read it
back.
in full?
You could read it. It's only if you slide it fully,
Yeah.
it says seen. But if you slide it over, you can read the message and slide. I think it was Davey.
So this literally
Actually, I think it was Davey.
whoa, outing him on this thing. So this is
He doesn't
lit-
mind. He'd pass it on.
this is literally the counterproductive thing to the entire point of this whole podcast.
I
It's
know.
like,
We're
how to
literally
properly-
telling people-
here's some hacks on how
It's
to
just
ignore people.
degenerated
We're
at the end.
we're literally training people on how to ignore people.
Went from like, let's talk about the positive ways to be intentional with your friendships, and then be like, let's
It's
just
true.
talk about how you can.
But it is
avoid
part of the
red.
problem, because why do we feel like we need to avoid people?
or the pressure to respond.
Why would you feel the
immediately.
need to? And you know what I've learned? A good habit is, if I do see a message, obviously on Instagram, that says seen, I say to them, "Hey, just so you
Got
know,
your message.
got your message.
Yeah,
I
I'll
have
reply
to.
shortly."
I'm busy at the moment. I'm just formulating an answer."
Yeah.
Because it is, I think, if you do read a message and
That's kind, yeah.
well, because they don't know where you're at.
Yeah.
Right.
It's no communication is like no communication.
Can
so
you mark things as unread on Instagram?
no.
I don't
You
think
only
so.
just can now on iMessage, which
Yeah.
is a beautiful thing.
But I just let them know, acknowledge the receipt of the message, and I'll be back to you. Then they go, okay, so it might be 48 hours or 3 months.
right, yeah.
But
I'll be back to you in
but
another
I do think
lifetime.
it highlights a greater point. Why do, personality wise, why do you feel the need to not respond, or the pressure to not read something, because then you feel that you do need to respond, or you're not ready to respond?
Well, I think some people, the problem is we're all doing
busy.
lots.
Yeah.
And so in a lot of cases, you check something. I've been there where like I probably shouldn't have. See, I think our problem is we're always on. And like I probably shouldn't be checking those messages
Yeah.
when I'm checking those messages, because I'm in my head supposed to be doing other work in all likelihood. And so instead of sitting down and being intentional and saying, okay, over the next 20 minutes,
Right.
I'm sitting down in my Instagram messages and reading and responding to these messages. We're often just taking them whenever, and then you're in the middle of something else, and then it's an inquiry or a question or whatever, and you're like, oh, I got to think about that.
Yeah.
But now I've read it, and then, or people are just kind of, so I think it's a bit of this always
But
on.
I think it brings up the question that you asked earlier: is a friend, ever texted you, and then just because you text me, do I need to respond to you in that moment? And is it fair to ask that
True.
of friends, that the moment I text you, is it fair to demand a response, even though I know you have your phone?
I think in theory it's not okay to expect that. But when you talk about the actuality of just where we are as a culture, I don't
It's true.
yeah, I think we just kind of have to. Okay, but I have friends that still, I've told them so many times, 2 friends that I can think of, that only call me. And then I've told them, I said, hey, if you ever call me, I'm never going to pick up, ever. Not a single time
Why?
will I ever pick up. Because I don't want to talk on the phone.
Oh,
I just
you don't like talking on the phone?
hate it.
You hate it.
If I'm like
Are
catching
you
up
a
with someone,
voice note kind of guy?
I've learned to be, yeah.
Yeah.
But like if
Because
I'm trying to,
that's another breed of people.
if I'm trying to catch up with someone, no problem. But if I'm trying to catch up with someone, no problem. But if it's literally just like they're phoning to be like, yo, yeah, so I can't make that appointment today. I'm like, just text me it. And then I'll have people that call me and then don't text me anything.
Right.
And then I'm like, hey, I've told you that I'm not.
Yeah.
I'll text them, what's up? They're like, oh, I just wanted to know what your favorite brand of coffee was.
People ask that on the phone?
dude, these two friends that I'm thinking of, I'll just fucking out them.
That is not a phone call.
That's what I mean though. They'll phone for a 10-second phone call.
No,
that's what I mean. I get it if it's like a 15-minute conversation or a 5-minute conversation.
That's a text.
But that's
just shining a light on the different personalities, right? Like some people just want that.
Well, and they're actually very efficient.
Yeah. Is there anything worse than small talk? It's the worst.
That's my whole job. I'm a
Hi, how are you? Good. How are you? What's new? Oh yeah. So the reason I'm calling is like the small talk. Sometimes those days where it's like I don't have it in me. How are you?
And if you be honest,
just ask the question.
Then, if you be honest, you look like a psycho. You're like, actually, I'm having a really bad week.
I think we've concluded.
What's our takeaways?
The takeaways here. The takeaways.
Landing the plane.
Producer Chris is telling me we only have a few minutes left. 40 seconds. Do we need to stop for our takeaways? There's no room left. The takeaways are like and subscribe. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, half swipe to the right if you want to not read a message.
Be a good friend. Be awesome. Yeah. We'll see you on the next one.
Love you guys.
See you guys.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to hit like and subscribe. You can enjoy the audio version of this podcast wherever you consume your podcast. We'll see you soon.